Hello, my name is, I don't know which tree to look at.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Ryan Ellis, and today I'm honored to be joined with Dante Corsi.
Yep.
Good to see you, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Dante
Yep,
Corsi.
nice to meet
You are the purveyor of People's Restaurant Equipment Co., which is no more. But for many years, it's 103 years in the family business.
107.
107 years.
1918. I actually had to do the math right
Yeah.
before this interview.
107. That's
Yep.
amazing. America is about to turn 250 this coming summer of 2026. Detroit is over 300 years old, so that's a good portion of both this city and this country's history.
Yep.
And so your company was a go-to place for many generations, not just years, measure it in generations. When I first intersected with you guys, I was in culinary school. You always gave me great deals. You treated me like $1,000,000. I had high hopes of, people want to open up a food truck or have their own restaurant, be the next Food Network star. A month before I graduated from culinary school, I had a medical emergency, at which point I came back here. I used to work here in Eastern Market. I came back here and I still knew about you guys. And even though I couldn't prepare food directly, but at least I could be near the ingredients. But you were always kind. You were always treat me like $1,000,000. You'd see a restaurant owner, you'd see Joe Blow off the street, then there'd be me, whoever. You'd always be so kind. So I just wanted to make the point as we start, there are people with a golden voice. You can put a phone book in front of them and it'll just be sonorous, beautiful to listen to. You are a thoroughly decent man through and through in a refreshing way, a way that's lost in these modern times as people get jaded or whatever. The world hits them the wrong way and they want to take it out on everyone, but you always have been an upbeat person. And so I think that just in the same way, someone with a beautiful voice, James Earl Jones, Orson Welles, or I'm not sure who in today's generation has that big voice, everyone's like, kind of like not as manly anymore nowadays. But in that same way, I think your goodness will shine through. So no matter what we talk about, that will be what audiences will pick up on. I could have busked in the city and made money today. I could have walked around, I'm the camera guy, done a lens review and got a lot of views in a video. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the views. You are a good man. I want to do a highlight on you and on your business.
And I appreciate the words.
Well, it's my honor. First, I'm going to do the history, the company history, anything you remember. I'm really putting you on the spot. You're a busy man, so what you can come up with in the moment. And then the rest of it will just be you as a businessman and how you operate. So in no particular order, what is the origin of the name of the company, People's Restaurant Equipment Co.? Was it always called that?
It was always called that, yeah. It was founded back in 1918 by a man named Harry Paul. And then it was funneled through a couple different owners, and my dad, Gary Corsi, was one of them. Yep, and so they've all passed away. My dad, the most recent, in 2020. Yeah, so 107 years old. We were always located on Gratiot. We've been in this location for about 35 years, I think.
Wow.
And otherwise, we were a little bit down the street beforehand. So
yeah. That's beautiful. Your family took over the business. Do you know what inspired the original people that started it to begin the business?
I really don't know. I don't know. It was just one man's, dream to start the business, and they bought this the building down the street, and then moved into this building a little bit later. Yeah.
How did your father get involved? Did he work with them before he took it over, or did he do something else and then took them?
My dad was in car sales. He was in food sales. Yep. He was always a salesperson.
Yeah.
He met Harry Paul here through some cousins that own a millwork shop down the street. My grandpa worked there.
Wow.
So they had a good relationship between the millwork company and People's. So and my dad got a job here and then worked his way up. From the bottom to the top.
American dream. Do you remember what decade, maybe not what year, but like around what decade was this? When he started working there and then when he took over the company?
It was most likely he started in the 80s. He took over the company. Well, so it was percentages. It came little by little. But he totally took it over in like 2004, I believe.
Wow.
Yep.
Hard working, put his the embodiment of what everyone wants to do in this country.
Nothing in life is free. It's all due to hard work.
Yes.
For sure.
Through the years, starting with your father, because certainly you're more tied to him than, like you said, the previous people, onto the present. What impact do you think that this business has had on the community or even the industry itself that you work within?
Like you were talking about earlier, everybody that came into this place we treated like with respect and like a like a family member. Quite honestly, I don't think
Yes,
there's
I can
anybody.
attest to that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody that I've ever ran past that could say a bad thing about people's, could say a bad thing about my father, could say a bad thing about me.
No.
Because we honestly are just hardworking people. And we're just trying to, survive and, take care of our families. You know,
Yes.
throughout all the years, I mean, we've done a ton of donations to like churches, nonprofits, block parties. We really did like take care of the people of the city.
That's beautiful. Yeah. The core values of your company is like, the family connection, and even like your employees were just an extension of you guys. It's so funny. I can ask all these run-of-the-mill questions, but they all kind of seem to answer themselves, in that you're just, old school, old fashioned in your approach.
Yep, we're definitely like loyalty, faithful, handshakes.
Yeah.
And we're still very personable,
Right. How do you handle stress? There's an open-ended question.
I'm a man of like many hobbies. Like I like to stay busy, especially in stressful times. That keeps your mind going and keeps your mind off of the stressful times. But I like running in the parks, like in the trails at the parks, blowing off steam at the gym. I like playing disc golf. I love like sports, anything sports related. I will watch it. Any kind of games. Saltwater fish. I like muscle cars. I try to do it all. Lately I've been trying to limit the amount of hobbies I have because it's been a stressful time, and the last 5 years actually has been kind of rough. Between COVID, shutting down the business, like pretty much 80% of the business for like 2 years. Then coming back, through the violations from the city and things like that, and I've had to deal with a lot of stress, and I've had to keep very, very busy.
So maybe we'll start with COVID, because I'm also, before COVID, I'm not sure comparatively how it was, the 2008-09 financial crisis, did that hit you guys?
Yeah, so that was the beginning. So there's a lot of downfalls to people's over the years. In the early 2000s, the first thing that started were like the imports that were coming in the market. We were always very American made, support America, support USA products. And the imports started to come into the markets, and people started looking for just cheaper stuff. There was a couple competitors that opened up out of state that were big in the import market, and people would actually drive hours away to go buy a Turner or a pan that was just cheaper than what we can provide, because we provided quality products. And there's never a bottom to cheap products.
Interesting.
So, and I've learned that over the last 15, 20 years, because I've seen things get cheaper and cheaper. I've seen the quality get cheaper and cheaper. There's always something that's cheaper. So that was the first thing that started to kind of the downfall, and just following inexpensive products. And after that, the financial crisis of 2008, 2009 was a little bit right after my father took over the building, or took over the business 100%. And it took a lot out of him. He had to use some of his own resources to keep this place floating, and it just took a lot out of him. And it was pretty much right after he took it over 100%. Yep. And so that was another pretty big portion of the decrease in business.
Was there like a particular law, or was it like Chinese import? So you said imports. It started with imports, then it went to the 08, 09, I forget what year, crash. Was it like a certain law that passed, or just like a season of changes in the rules? That
there was no laws, and the problem is there was no regulations to imports at all. And over the years, they just keep getting worse and worse. And online retail stores, basement dealers, people that just started their own companies that were dealing right out of the basement, at cheaper prices. I don't want to mention any of my online competitors, but it really destroys the effect of business.
Online did a number on brick and mortar.
Yeah, for sure. There used to be students that came in here on field trips, and I used
Yes.
to tell them there's a circle to business, and these online dealers are killing the business because the cycle doesn't work. All right, because the more people shop online, the less we're able to qualify the demand, and bring in the products that are moving, because they're not moving anymore because everybody's buying them online, right?
Right.
So then you come into the store and you can never find the product that you want because
Right.
we can't sit on the money anymore. But then, it's a vicious cycle because, where do people work? Where do the jobs go when there's no money coming into businesses?
Right.
Where do your children work?
Right.
And that's the problem you're seeing right now in the labor force, is that you can't you just can't find jobs. There are no
Right.
openings because there's not enough out there.
Right.
And that's all caused by us. It's all caused by us shopping
Yes.
online.
You can see the end from the beginning, and yet people still do it.
Yep, for sure.
It's a twist off of the old capitalists will sell the rope to hang themselves,
Yep.
quote, we're doing ourselves in, we're fully aware of it the whole time.
Yep.
Things started getting better after the '08 crisis, but then COVID happens.
After the financial crisis, we saw the light. We started to improve. My goal was to get the right people in the right seats, form an organizational structure. It was going good. It was starting to happen, and then COVID came around and pretty much furloughed a lot of my employees. They shut down pretty much everything. Our whole industry was pretty much shut down. All the stores were shut down, which forced more people to go shopping online, But we stayed open for, a couple hours a day with
Wow.
2 to 3 employees. And I was running around trying to find sanitizer, trying to find gloves, trying to find face masks.
Yeah.
And that's what we survived on,
Yes.
those couple products and making deliveries after work, and it was rough, and that was a long time. And I don't think people really fully realize the damage it did to this world. And we still have not, came out of that damage.
Right.
So, and the last thing we need is no support from the country's government and
Right.
things like that. We need more support, and we need a realization that people are still struggling coming out of COVID, and that was 5 years ago.
So is the dollar worth half as much now as it was before that, or
If
maybe
that.
less?
Yeah, if that.
And then we're talking about a fiat dollar.
Yeah.
so it's like a dream on a whisper on a soap bubble, and it's just a vapor.
Yes.
Very ephemeral. Not just the changes in the law, not just the economic downturn, then COVID happened, but then also on the local front, something that maybe you could never foresee. Who could ever foresee COVID, but even on top of that, local bureaucrats, pencil pushing, pencil neck, bean counting, never did the thing themselves, but they want to look down on the ones who are doing it and hold them to standards that they could never themselves hold, because again, they don't do it themselves. Broadly, how do you see how the city has treated your business?
So we could say this.
Yes, sir.
So 107 years of supporting the city, and I feel like pretty much the city turned its back on us, and all they did was increase the struggle. Coming out of COVID, I understand the beautification of the city, because the city does need to get shaped up. You have buildings falling to the ground. You have woods in the subdivisions full of trees and garbage and blight and graffiti all over. So I do understand the beautification. But to attack the businesses that actually come to work every day, that open the doors every day, that take care of the properties every day, to come and attack them and not even know our first name, not even be able to come in and shake our hand, and then realize that we're trying to follow the rules. We are trying to pay our inspection fees, do all the work that they want us to do, and then kind of realize that we're actually paying these fees, and then attack us more and make us pay more fees, just because I believe the city is trying to make money.
The spirit of the law is you are within your ability doing everything you can Therefore, give a little grace here and there. But even then, a lot of their standards are overmuch.
Yeah, the communication needs to improve. The technology, the computer software that the city works on needs to improve, because it's not intuitive. It's near impossible. No one knows how it works. You could spend a whole day down at the Komine Young and, quite honestly, get nothing accomplished.
Right.
And it's really frustrating to a business owner that is, busting his butt every day, is here for 8 to 10 hours a day,
Wow.
and can't leave the business, because he's trying to improve the business. We don't want to have to go deal with garbage down at a building that is not ever going to get solved.
Right.
And that was the struggle. And every day coming down here, this is a 28,000 square foot building, hundreds of years old. You could probably come in it at any point and say, you need to do this.
Right.
And we have a warehouse down the street that's about 12,000 square foot. Same predicaments, fences aren't painted, they're rusted, things that just don't make any sense to fix. And you're coming into a building where we actually take pride in the building and we do whatever we can. I wanted to put a break room in here. I wanted to redo the floors. And you came in here and made me put tens and 20s and 30s of thousands of dollars into the building where it didn't need to be done.
Right.
And then after that, to just keep attacking is, and it's really frustrating. And it was 60% of the downfall of the business.
A boxer, maybe they have a tough opponent, and maybe they actually come through and they win on points, or they knock out the other person, but they're all messed up after that fight. And GQ is calling saying, hey, we want you on the cover. You need to get all facial, get yourself fixed up. You're like, no, let me heal my body, my broken down body first, and then I'll be a lot better positioned to, look nice for a picture. It's the same thing with.
So it's funny that you use a boxer as the comparison. Because I always used to say, we went through these times, the financial crisis, COVID, the blight violations, and then closing this place down. I used to say, right now I'm just acting like a boxer, and we got a lot coming at our face, so all we want to do is block those punches, cover up, and let this time pass and get through this time. But then the times just keep getting harder and harder, and the punches keep getting thrown. You can only take so much.
Right.
The city needs to realize, as they're giving out violations for this piddly little stuff, that what we deal with in the city, between graffiti, broken windows, demolition of property, it's twice a week that I get a call from Guardian Alarm on this building.
Wow.
I've had to come down to these buildings in the middle of the night. Luckily, usually the police would be here waiting too, so I'd come here safe. But that's what we deal with, and and it's probably like that everywhere. I'm not gonna say it's just here, but they have to understand what goes on,
the danger, the hazard, the risk, the stakes of running a business in Detroit. Yes, I'm sure there are other places that compare, but for what this place is, how would you describe the what you face?
Like I just said, you have the graffiti, you have broken windows, demolition of the property. You have to worry, it's not as bad as it used to be, because I got to tell you, a while back was really bad around here, but it's really straightened up now, a little bit. But you still have to be careful, your cars can get broken into.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest things you have to worry about. I worry about the windows in this place every day, because years ago in 2020, we redid the whole outside of the building and took the bars down and put new windows up and new paint and things. And it was the first thing that I had to worry about, especially when times get rough and, there's protesting and things like that. You have to worry about that,
There's a leap of faith.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that kills me is we have a parking lot across the street. It's just a gravel parking lot. It's fenced in, for security where the employees park. Right. And, the city came around, gave me violations on this parking lot because there were weeds growing on the fence. And there might have been one post that was a little bit crooked, things like that. And quite honestly, like, I didn't have the money to do anything with it because I just got done sticking a whole bunch of money into this building.
Right.
You know, so like I was debating, how do I fix this problem? Do I level the land? But, you know, I need secured parking
Right.
for my employees because I don't want to leave, you know, the cars, you know, outside without a fence around them,
Right.
you know? So, you know, I had to spend like $10,000 to rip down the whole fence, you know, put the fence back up, drop more gravel over there. And it was just a waste of money,
Yeah.
quite honestly. But, you know, for my employees, I had to do it because I had to have secured parking for them.
The city can't build a jail. Well, they built it twice, or they paid for it twice. They built it once.
Yeah.
You know, like they can't get their own affairs in order, and they're coming looking down their nose at you after all.
Yep.
You know.
And quite honestly, I don't mind them coming around and inspecting buildings and getting the garbage buildings taken down
Within reason.
Yeah, that are around here, the ones that are falling down, the ones that can hurt people, you know, things like that, you know. But to come to a building that's actually taken care of and keep on ticketing, that's where, like, I believe is a little false.
Where I come from with that is, you know, we're in Eastern Market, a lot of produce, you know, fruits, vegetables, meat, things that need to be kept within a certain temperature range, you know, like very finicky. This, you know, I didn't do a good enough job. This is as good a time as any. This is People's Restaurants Equipment Co. And you sell restaurant equipment. It's not like it's gonna expire. The worst thing is maybe rust, but even then, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so for them to come after you, that's where I come down as is like the nature of your business. You don't need as strict, you know, with compared to like somewhere that sells fresh food and it's being fresh. Yeah, totally different. Should be treated differently.
Yep.
Can you share a significant personal sacrifice you've made for your business?
I've sacrificed my whole life for this business. Quite honestly, like
Everything.
I was in the biology major at Wayne State. I graduated from Wayne State.
Smart.
You know, I always wanted to work with my father, you know, and
That's
he
beautiful.
never really wanted me to. He was one of those fathers that wanted something better, you know. But he was always there for me. So like he was my baseball coach, all that, you know. So I wanted to have that same kind of life with my family, you know. So, you know, when his partner started to retire and things, I saw that he needed help, and, you know, he asked me to come and help, and, you know, I changed my major over at Wayne State to business, graduated from Wayne State because, you know, my father still made me graduate. Came here and, you know, started here, you know, thinking that, you know, this place would be here forever. These buildings would be able to be liquidated at some point in my future for retirement, you know, because I gave up, you know, your retirement plans, 401ks, like
To be your own boss.
Yeah, to be my own boss, you know. And now knowing that this isn't here anymore, you know, luckily, you know, I've found another place to go.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful. We'll talk about that later, you know.
Yes.
And that's my personal sacrifice, you know. And my dad and my mom gave up a lot for this business too. It's not just me. If it wasn't for the support, you know, of my wife, my mother, my father, like, I would never have made it through this, like, alone, you know.
Takes a village.
It does.
What has been your most rewarding moment as a business owner?
Being able to jump from this place to easily finding a job in the industry because of, you know, the rewarding part of, like, meeting people and having good customers, loyal customers.
Yes.
I believe that's probably the most rewarding part, you know, because or else, you know, where would I have went? You know, I would still be looking for a job in a different industry, you know, but trying to follow those relationships and, you know, people know that, I mean, we really do bust our butts to, you know, take care of our customers. So, and that's just who we are. We're hardworking, like, people that just
Salt
want
of the earth.
solve problems. Yeah.
I was in culinary school. I was like the Marines, you know, first in, last out. I worked my butt off there, and I'd always pick the brains of my teachers, and a number of them would fret that had been teaching for decades. They're like, it seems like every year the kids just get a little more rebellious, a little more ADD, not checked into what's happening. And they fret, you know, it used to be in a weird way a lot easier before. The quality of people has changed. Now your customers, you know, like we're in the internet age, and I guess now we might call it the AI age. You know, have the nature of the customers changed over the years?
Oh, for sure. And you know, the one thing I could say is the same thing with, you know, the Detroit Free Press came and, you know, interviewed me in a little newspaper column like, you know, months ago.
Wow.
And first thing I could say is like, you know, is Amazon coming to eat at your restaurant? Is Amazon tipping your waitresses?
That's
you know, your
great
bartenders? You know, that's the one thing you have to remember is who is spending the money in your restaurants. It's the people from the community. And if you support the people in your community, the people in the community will support you.
Right. It's reciprocal. Well, you made the point also, it seems people might be short-sighted, myopic, short memories, and forget what nice thing you did before to the other, you know.
Well, and it's not hard to forget because, you know, the busy hustle bustle of everyday life and, you know, stressful times, you know, hard to pay bills because, you know, utilities keep going up and up, food keeps going up and up. Like, it's hard to remember that because you're just looking for the best deal. You're looking to save money, and I totally understand that. But in the long run, you're not feeding the community around you, which will end up feeding you.
Right.
You know?
That's why I always made a point to shop here. You know, that you bring up a great point. I used to go on delivery routes, you know, in a box truck all over, not just Detroit, like the region here in the state, to restaurants, grocery stores. I would pass by. There were other wholesalers, but they weren't open to the public like you guys. I always would shop from the, you know, it was just unique, testament to your personal approach.
Yeah. In this country, we're gonna have to make a decision at some point, like, do we keep feeding the people that are trying to do things such as fly to the moon, that own like $1 billion yachts and are having $1 billion weddings? Like, come on now, do we keep feeding them or do we feed ourselves?
Right. Your whole life savings is like a margin error to, you know, like they're just so unfathomably wealthy. Where do you see your industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years, given the growth of AI and automation? How has technology such as computers and the internet impacted how you conduct business?
And it's made the overhead in the business extremely high.
Raised it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because, I mean, the need for a tech guy to be on hand, or, you know, a couple $100 an hour to have someone come and fix a server or your telephones. Let's just say one day the internet goes out. You lose everything. You lose your phone, your credit card processing. Nobody pays with cash anymore, so it doesn't matter, you know? So, I mean, it's made, you know, the overhead extremely high.
Wow.
You know, and it's, you know, as soon as the electricity flickers off, that, you know, a surge goes through your computer, there's one computer down. Now that whole computer needs to be rebought, re-networked, and unless you know that stuff, you're spending, you know, $1,000, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's made it high. The AI, so we'll see what happens. We're going to be going through a lot over the next couple of years, but I think the AI will actually help the industry on the manufacturing side because a lot of the factories are becoming a little bit more automated and streamlined. So there won't be as many communication errors. I think that will help the manufacturer side. The one good thing about my profession is it's sales, okay? And no computer is going to take over sales.
Amen.
No robot is going to know how to talk to a person. No robot's going to have the emotion, you know, and that raw feeling of being able to like shake someone's hand, unless you want to feel like cold steel.
Right.
You know?
Well, you're an artist. You're balancing so much when you're talking to somebody. Everyone, okay, it's so funny. Things are changing so quickly. In the past generation, everyone would complain about foreign, not just telemarketers, but foreign people like customer service and the cultural gap there. And now, I mean, it's not just culture to culture; it's human to robot gap. I mean, what do you call that?
Yeah, if you can get a hold of somebody on some of these lines, like a real person to talk to, like, it would be amazing sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then automation. Can you imagine there might be like robots, or I don't even know, like some sort of non-human machine things that are going around doing lifting lumber jobs?
You have to remember, too, a lot of people took these jobs. I keep reading, you know. they lost their jobs, and or they left their jobs because, you know, for higher pay at, like, let's say a delivery driver at like a big online company, or like a delivery company that, you know, of food, delivering food all day, things like that. They took these jobs to make a little extra money. Now you're seeing everything become automated. You're going to start seeing automated cars, drones delivering things. Like, these people, where are you going to go?
The gig economy is dead.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to start taking over a lot of things. So we have to rethink of what we should be doing with our lives. You know, sales, you know,
Right.
the trades are really big, you know, a lot of that kind of stuff. You're really going to have to start thinking about getting into, you know.
Human,
So,
like skills that humans are
Yeah.
most apt at
Yep.
compared to anything
And,
else.
and believe me, like AI and robotics, I mean, they can help this world quite a bit too. So I'm not totally against it, you know, but you know, we're going to have to regulate it a little bit, because there's still going to have to be employment for people.
If you can name it, you can know it, and they're just even still coming up with the terms, the language to describe this. And one of the new phrases come up with is AI psychosis, where almost like, you know, during COVID, you had what was called mass formation psychosis, which is where like a whole group of people will believe some crazy conspiracy, you know, something just because, and it kind of compounds on itself, enough people, and then they don't even check if it's real or not. People are getting taken into these weird places with being told just total lies by
You know, it's this old saying, you know, in diets and just about everything, you know, everything in moderation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, overconsumption is, you know, a bad thing, you know.
But I would say maybe the one thing with the proliferation of AI might be humans. You know, again, your role in this world, say, like, you can't get enough, like, how do you say it? There is no moderating factor to a human salesperson. Like, I think most people would, if given the option, want to talk to you than a robot. So there is no upper limit on what you offer the world in a positive way.
Yeah.
Your value is maintained. The city of Detroit, did you grow up in Detroit?
No, I grew up pretty much. So I grew up until I was about 6 years old in Hazel Park. And then we moved out into Sterling Heights, and I've been in the same subdivision since I was 7 years old.
That's beautiful.
You know, my grandpa lived in that subdivision. My parents lived in that subdivision. I lived 3 streets over.
That's
so,
beautiful.
Like, so for 25 years, realize why this was so sad, closing this place down. I took the same route for 25 years from my subdivision to this store. And, you know, that's why it was so sad. It was so sad, like, having to go in a different direction one day, you know?
You can do it in your sleep.
Yeah.
And then you witness the city change so much over the years. Like when they put, because I remember when they put up the lights, when whoever tore down, you know, like the homeless people tore down, sold for the copper, and then it was dark for a long time going down, you know, 94. And
man, I remember, like, because I came here every day of my life, I remember where the potholes are.
Yes.
Okay, in the street.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so it's been a little frustrating.
A number of people I knew died while I was working here in Detroit. Were there any? Your father passed away. Were there any other workers or loved one? You know, just people that you'd see, maybe you didn't really know them that well.
Oh, I mean, we knew our customers so well that, like, we knew when they passed away. We've had, like, reverends pass away. I've had employees pass away. You know, family pass away. I mean, we've had seizures here. You know, just a little while ago, I had a kid come in here, thought he was having a heart attack. I had to call the ambulance. But that's how we are. We care. Like, I'm not going to just let someone, you know, sit here and be in agony, you know?
Right.
So he was okay, by the way. He
Good.
just had a little bit of heartburn or something. But, like, we called the ambulance. They came pick him up. I've seen a lot of different things here, you know, in my life.
Comparing your earliest memories of this city to the present, has the city gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? You know, the city of Detroit.
I mean, I think it's gotten better.
Good.
Yeah. You know, the downtown area is beautiful. You know, there's a lot of investment coming in from other places. You know, I think we got to remember sometimes, though, that's not the only part of this city.
Right.
You know, it's got to start radiating out into the suburbs, you know, not into the suburbs, but into the communities outside of the downtown area, right? So there's got to be housing they have to create subdivisions, I believe, and communities, because really there's that saying, it's safety in numbers, right?
Right.
So the more clumps of areas that get populated, the more safe they're gonna be.
Like circling the wagons, you know, like if
Exactly.
it's just one wagon, then everyone checks that. And if it's a
Yup.
group of them, then yeah.
You know, I hate seeing it, because up and down Gratiot, you know, and especially with us closing down here, it's lonely out there. Like,
Yeah.
it seems quiet, you know. I hate seeing all these buildings for sale. I just don't know who's going to open up anymore business-wise in a lot of these buildings. I understand making apartments or lofts, because that's what would be perfect here. Okay.
Right.
But, you know, what is supporting the businesses down here? You know,
Right.
and the value of the properties, you know, being able to crack owning a business, leasing a building, owning a building, you know, you're still cracking a huge nut every month, you
Right.
know, and you got to make that profit somewhere. And if there's no communities or housing around here, I don't know who's going to support it.
You can build the most beautiful facility, but you need people to fill it up. It just can't be an empty structure.
But the city has gotten better, like, because I remember it being pretty desolate down here in this area. You know, there's a school here now. There's like a police precinct down the street. You know, you can walk around here and feel pretty safe and secure. You know, but that was always my goal here, is to make it feel safe and secure around this building.
I've talked to all kinds of people all over the city, and I ask them the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows, ups and downs of the city. A lot of people point to the 1990s. Last time it was really bad compared to now. It was like really, the crime and violence was awful.
Yeah, I would agree. Going through the 90s, that's when, like, so I started here, like, probably, like, right around 2000, you know, late 90s. But I had been here a lot. Like, I used to come in here as a little kid and mop the floor on Saturdays.
Wow.
So I do remember, like, you know, what it was like, you
Yeah.
know. So, yeah, but it has gotten better, safe. It's gotten a little bit more safe, you know. But we got to keep this country's economy
Amen.
going in a positive direction for it to stay safe, because as soon as the economy spins out of control, the economy gets worse and worse, you know, that's when it's not going to be safe again, you know.
As the saying goes, Carville, that guy down in Arkansas who worked on Bill Clinton's campaign, he had that famous slogan, "It's the economy, stupid." Something Carville, but anyways, he's a pundit.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the economy. Like you said, we're putting not just money to go into space, but even terrestrially on the other side of the earth. Bring it back here to
Yeah.
America.
And
We
not
could do a lot
to
more.
get too much into politics
Yes, sir,
or
yes, sir.
anything, you know, but, you know, I'm all about putting money in the streets, putting money into people's hands, because as soon as there's not money in the streets or in people's hands, and people have to look at other ways of survival, that's where the problem lies.
Local investment.
Correct.
Plant a beautiful garden and it'll grow, and if you plant it way over there, it's going to grow there. It's not going to, like, by osmosis suddenly appear here. You know,
Yep.
You're neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet, though you are a wonderful businessman and a salesman and the son of the same. Projecting into the future, do you think Detroit will get better, worse, or stay kind of where it's at right now?
And I hope it gets better. You know,
The way things are going, I guess. Yeah.
You know, my number one goal, like, I want everything to be good.
Amen.
You know, like,
yeah.
I would never, like, wish, you know, a negativity on anything or anyone.
Right.
You know, I have my goals and things that need to get done quickly here, and that's, you know, like, I need these buildings sold.
Right.
You know, so I can move on with my life and, like, move in a positive direction with, you know, my family.
Right.
You know, and my new career. So,
Right.
But I do hope that, you know, if the city does good, I do good, you know, because if there's things opening up here, that's opportunity for me.
Right.
And that's opportunity for my new company. You know?
Yes. Well, of any city in Michigan, arguably, you go anywhere on the earth and you say Detroit, they'll have more of a chance to recognize that than, like, Lansing or around, you know, any other city. Like this is kind of where the one place, if you could have one place, for better or worse, in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, definitely. People know where Detroit is.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're not gonna be like, what state is that? Where is that? You know, people do know Detroit.
Yeah.
Sometimes not the best.
Yeah, exactly.
The best image, but
Yeah.
and people sometimes think that even like someone like me, who's I'm kind
Exactly.
of a quiet, innocent person trying to live my life, but I'll go to the conferences and they'll be like, "Man, you're pretty rough," like. No, I'm not a rough person at all. So it's funny.
I'm from Detroit. Yeah.
Yep.
How would you describe? You've already kind of said it. Your management style would be very personable.
Yeah.
Person to person.
So I would say like I'm not a micromanager whatsoever. I pretty much, people know what their duties are, and they either do them or they don't, right? So if they do them, they get paid. Right. If you don't do them, you don't get paid.
You're in a line of work where you can't fake work. You either, like you said.
Yeah, especially like for people's over the last couple of years, we were so small, employee-wise, that we all had our responsibilities. We knew what they were, and they had to get done. I was lucky enough over the last couple of years to have some really good employees. I had some loyal employees that did anything for me. Alida, she's still working with me to close this place down. She's been here for 40 years,
God bless her.
It's actually really like sad for her and I, so, and I just like I just want everyone to realize like, this is not a happy time. Like, this is a legacy business that's been through a lot emotionally. And we're getting through it.
Is she blonde?
Yeah.
I remember in the office, I'd always see her.
Yep.
Sweetheart.
She's pretty much the last employee here, like from the old times, that everyone else has passed away.
I always remember, beautiful. I do have more notes, but I want to start wrapping up now. Be, again, respectful of your time. The last three things I want to talk about are wisdom, plugs, and prayers. Wisdom, a piece of wisdom you can leave people at home. Plugs, like anything you want to promote, whether that you're involved in or people that that you care about are involved in. And then prayer requests, anything you'd want people to pray for you for. A piece of wisdom for the folks at home. Anything people can glean from you.
I don't proclaim to be the wisest person ever, right? I have been through a lot and learned a lot, and we have to like continue to just be a hardworking society, and two, we need to really watch how much we are spending on online internet purchases. That's the biggest thing. Like, I think it's one of my biggest like pieces of advice in this world right now is like, if we want to have a society and if we want to have jobs and we want to be able to purchase things that are in front of our eyes, then we have to limit how much we're spending online.
It's not just, you see the bumper sticker, out of a job yet, keep buying foreign, buy American. It's not just enough to say buy American. It should also be buy local. Go to your brick and mortar store in person where you can talk to the person and hand them cash or whatever, credit if you have to, but do it on a local basis.
Yep. Agreed.
Last two things, plugs and prayer requests. Okay. Anything you want to promote or... the biggest thing is I've been lucky enough, to take a job position at a new company, that I believe is a really good fit for me. It's the values of the company align like perfectly with the values that I had here. That's great. They were actually they're 93 years old. Wow. Family owned. I think it's a third or fourth generation. They were founded in Detroit also, and now are in Southfield on 9 and Telegraph, but they have locations all across the country. Their name is Great Lake Ventures and Great Lakes Hotel Supply. And I took a account executive position there, so that I figured with all the experience I had, why leave the industry? I still want to take care of the customers that I've had for years and years. They do total commercial kitchen design and equipment purchases. If anybody needs any help in that area, feel free to contact me. Most overqualified man in the room here, truly. Yep. Another plug is, my wife Sonia is like, getting her business off the ground right now too. Beautiful.
Yep, it's called Personalized and Preserved by Sonia, where she does unity candles and customization of products for weddings and brides.
Beautiful.
And also like flower preservation. So
I used to, when I had more money coming into my life, I used to, I'm a very sentimental person, and I don't want to put flowers on someone's grave. I'd rather hand it to them. So like every week I'd get a bouquet of flowers from my mother, from my grandma, and hand it to them. And those Chaldeans that ran that place, they're always, with, very sentimental in the beauty and arrangements. And
well, one awesome thing about her, she wants to run her own business. So we're like running in two different directions, which is really funny because she's tired of working for someone. She wants to work for herself. I'm tired of working for myself. I want to work for somebody. Right. So like we're kind of running in two different directions. But the cool thing about her business is, you get flowers on so many occasions in life, especially females. Men really don't get too many flowers, but like you get these flowers on so many different occasions, but the flowers end up dying, so that those flowers are forgotten for that occasion. But in her business, she's preserving them in epoxy or resin, and those can be savored for like your whole life. You'll always remember that moment. You'll always remember that Valentine's Day, that baptism, that that anniversary, that wedding, any of that stuff. So it's a really kind of a real cool business,
Professional salesman over here. No,
yeah.
You did an amazing job.
I just tell the truth, I have nothing to lie about. Like we just tell the truth, there's nothing to lie.
I mean, you're gifted. All right. And then finally, prayer requests, anything, people in the spiritual side of things could pray for you about.
I hope to God and I pray that these, properties get sold, so we can, finish paying off the debt and close this chapter of our lives. Like it will never be forgotten. The people, the employees, they'll never be forgotten, but we need to close this chapter. And like I said earlier, we need to move on with our lives so we can actually enjoy, because it's been a very like depressing, time. So, but like I said, like starting a new job, like starting a new career in kind of the same direction has been a blessing, and that has been a prayer answered.
That's great.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much. One more question. Just because I think it's a nice one. Have you had any famous visitors or customers that you're allowed to mention? Maybe some might want to be anonymous, but
I wasn't here for this time, but I have pictures. My dad has pictures with like Gordie Howe.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's really cool. Too bad I don't have any of my office stuff here because it's all at my house, but I would show you the pictures. They're really cool. Another popular guy that came, I believe he's from Kentucky. His name is Zeb Ross. He's from the J Creek Cloggers, and he went viral like on Instagram. Like they used to do those memes of like coming into the weekend and he'd come like clogging, dancing, and
that's
so
great.
He said he was coming to Eastern Market one time, and I contacted him. I'm like, come by People's, And so he actually came by People's, took pictures out there, did a little dance in the middle of our store, signed the plate. I have it autographed. It's on the wall at home. It was just a real fun time. I was so happy he came,
That's beautiful.
But yeah, those were a couple of the like popular guys that came through, But we've done a lot of kitchens and things for athletes and stuff like that.
Wow.
But, yeah,
That's beautiful.
It's been a fun history.
Yes. Well, on that note, Mr. Corsi, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you.
Yep.